Okay. So first of all, thanks for joining, and those who didn't join yesterday, I mean, and the previous session. So myself, L. Muthukrishna, I work as a tech lead in L&T Technology Services, and I have an experience of about 8 years. So this is my journey so far. So I started my journey as a Python developer, and then I moved to UiPath, and then become MVP for 3 times, and then I have did some certifications. So without any delay, so let's start today's agenda. So we'll start with what is prompt engineering, and then specifically what prompt engineering mean in agentic environment, and then what are the different types of prompts that we have, and then how to write a better prompt, an effective prompt to get maximum results from an agent. Then we'll see how we integrate context into agents, and then at the end we have Harika to have the demo. Okay. So before starting into prompt engineering, it's important to understand how an LLM work. So an LLM, a large language model. So when a prompt given to an LLM, it starts with splitting the given word into multiple smaller pieces called tokens. These might represent words or subwords or even characters. And each character will be converted into a numerical vector, and this is called as embedding. And these embeddings together will be learned during training. And that's where when we say LLM, we say it has been trained in 16 billion parameters, 60 billion parameters, like that, right? So the more it knows these vectors, so the more it can answer you better. So for example, so let's say in our prompt we have cat. In one prompt we have cat. So how an LLM divides it? So it will split that, or it will convert that into numerical vector. So for cat, the numerical vector form will be 0. 0.6, 1.2, 3.1, and 0.5, let's say. And then we have dog, and then for that, assume this as a numerical vector for dog. So later it will compare the nearest form. I mean, like the similarities between these two vectors. So let's say here we have this vector and this vector is very near. If you see, like, it is 0. 0.6, and then here it is 0. 0.7. It is 0.1 difference for these two. So in that way, it will understand like these two are a similar category ones. Similar category ones, and that category will be animal. So that category decide it will happen based on its training. So but how will it get detail from prompt? So this is how it does. So it will convert that word to a vector, numerical vectors, multiple vectors, and then see the similarities. By the similarities, it will get to know the context of that a word or a sentence. So as I mentioned, yeah, because these two vectors are close to each other, so the model recognizes these as cat and dog, and then they share the similar meanings and usage. And these embeddings combined will make or will make LM understand the context from the sentence. So in the first word, it'll understand this an animal or a place or an action. So in this case, it is an animal. In the next case, it will understand the grammar. So what does it do? What does it function as a noun or a verb or adjective? So basically, this is how the LLM work. So you give a prompt, it will convert. So we have transformer architecture also, that will be a little more detailed. But as an overview, as a high level overview, you just need to understand like how the LLM works in the backend, right? So for that, you just give a prompt. This prompt can be a natural language prompt, basically in English. So when you give your prompt in English, so it will try to break down that entire prompt, I mean the sentence, into smaller pieces of tokens, and then it will convert that entire thing into a vector, and then does the rest of the work. Behind an LLM, every LLM behind there will be a transformer architecture. So that basically does all this work. So now we understood like what how an LLM works. So everything depends on the prompt. Like however you give the prompt, it only depends on your prompt. So the better you give the prompt, the better you can get from an LLM, right? So with that, it's always better to this entire technology or this entire process doing it very better is nothing but a prompt engineering. So it's nothing but a process of crafting and optimizing prompts to steer the model towards producing accurate and relevant and context sensitive responses. What does this mean? So let's say you just wrote a prompt in a high level, so it may not help or it may not give an accurate result. So I think now everyone will be familiar of what I meant. So you all use ChatGPT. So if you give, let's say you give like, um, I need a code for, let's say, for Fibonacci series or something. So if you just give that, it will still give the code, but it will not be like as you need. So you might need Fibonacci of words or Fibonacci of numbers, and then you want the output to be aligned in a proper format. And then you want to have a breakdown of how the code is written. So you also need the description of how the logic is written. So if you need all those details, your prompt should be properly engineered. And that properly engineered prompt will help you get the result what you expect. So basically, that's what prompt engineering means. So the way the is a process of having or writing the prompts effectively with all the things which you need, and that should point the accurate need of yours. That's basically what prompt engineering means. So for writing these prompts in a proper way, there are like few techniques available right now. So these are like three types of techniques: basic ones, intermediate ones, and advanced ones. Firstly, we basically in agentic automation we stick with basic ones: zero shot, few shot, and chain of thought. So firstly, zero shot prompting is nothing but a simple one. So as I mentioned before, so you just give a single sentence and then you expect the model to give the output. So you don't do any engineering part there. You just give a plain prompt. Let's say, give me code for creating an web application. So you just give that prompt and then it will randomly understands and then it will give the entire output to you. But it will not be very specific. It thinks by itself and then it will give. So that is basically the zero shot prompting. The few shot prompting is where you give few examples while prompting. So let's say you write a prompt and then you say I need so you give an input like you give an input and then you give an output also. So you write I need code for this, and then you in output you mention like I need code like this. So you write this is the code, and then you keep a separate section to uh, explain that how the code is written, and you keep a separate section of input and output. So that you give two to three examples, and then you make that into a single prompt, and then you give that prompt to the LLM. So that is nothing but few shot prompting. Chain of thought is like you in the prompt itself you write the reasoning. So you mention clearly step by step, like you need to, let's say you want to extract information from some website. So you clearly mention like you need to go to this URL, you need to find uh, uh, you need to find these details from that website, and then after you find that detail you need to convert that into proper JSON format. So you just mentioned like all step by step tasks, a complex task into step by step subtasks. So if you give that, it will give according to that prompt, right? So that kind of prompting is nothing but chain of thought. So here we don't use intermediate and advanced techniques in agent automation, but just to know. So for intermediate techniques, we have self-consistency and then we have thoughts. For advanced, we have RAG. I think RAG is you're mostly familiar with RAG. So basically, you have context of your own, and then you let uh, LLM to not go away from the context. You clearly mentioned in prompt mentioning that you have to stick with this context and then do not hallucinate by yourself. So something like that. And art and then React prompting. So these are some of the advanced techniques. But as I mentioned, for agentic automation, we stick with basic techniques called zero shot, few shot, and chain of thought. Next, LLM parameters. So now you have a prompt and then you engineer properly, and then with prompt engineering techniques, you were able to write a proper prompt now. But then after you prompt, I mean, how do you control the output from the prompt, output from the LLM? So basically, we have these are the parameters of LLM. So max tokens and sampling controls. So max tokens is nothing but so the maximum number of words you want in output. So the longer you keep the max tokens, the higher the cost will be, and then slower the speed will be. Plus, if you expect, sorry. So if you expect for a single line, if you expect that you want the output in 5,000 characters, then accordingly the charge will happen, right? And then to generate that huge content and that huge paragraph, it will take some time. So that's about the max tokens parameter. And then Sampling controls. So this is where you control the creativeness of an LLM. So if you keep it low, it will just say if we can find exact output of what of your input. Like if it is able to find, um, let's say, let's keep it as accuracy of 85% or 95%. If it is able to uh, get the information of more than 90% accuracy, only then it will give. For all the cases, it will say, I don't have I don't have much information on that. So that's when you keep if you keep temperature as low. So basically you control that by temperature. So if you keep it low, it will be factual and deterministic. If you keep medium, it will be balanced of deterministic and then creative. And if you keep high, then it might get hallucinate a little. It will be creative. It may create its own results, and it can derive on its own. So it may not be what you expect. So it's better to keep in medium so that it will be balanced. And next, how to create an effective prompt. So first of all, you have to be very clear and specific. Do not maybe do not write a lot, a big paragraph, and you have to avoid ambiguity. Like you should not repeat the same things in the prompt. You have to directly. It's better to keep direct instructions. Let's say step one, you have to do this. Step two, you have to do this, like that. So you have to be very clear and specific while prompting, and you need to provide context. For example, you have a very complex task, it's better to add background info also for that. Let's say you have to, let's say it might not be complex, but let's say you want to extract some information from UiPath docs. So in that situation, it's better to directly give your URL as well into the prompt. Let's say this is the URL where you can find all UiPath related information. So like that, it's better to provide the context of your task if the task is very complex. And next, always it's better to use step-by-step thinking, which is nothing but chain of thought for reasoning. So we'll see. I'll show you some few examples in UiPath agent. Mm. So if you have, let's say, in our example today, we will have a doc summary, like document summarization kind of thing. So there, what happens basically, you read the document and then you summarize it of your needs based on your needs, right? So in this, while reading the while reading the entire paragraph of the document and then making it into you separate key takeaways and then you write that takeaways in bullet points. So these step by step, it's better to write all these tasks that you have in step by step. So that in that way, even if you want to change something, you can directly change in that particular step instead of modifying the entire prompt. So next, use examples. Um, So let's say these again will be an example of few shot prompting. So whenever possible, it's better to give an example also for that prompt. Let's say for document summarization, as I mentioned in the previous example. So you give an input of a big paragraph, and then you give an output also, like how you need. Like I need a title here, title colon, and then something, and then key takeaways colon something. So like something like that. It's better to give examples also, and it's better to keep your prompts neutral. And at the end, it's better to properly test, adjust, and then improve prompts over time instead of directly using the first one. So from in UiPath Agent Builder, we have something called evaluators for this. So once you have your prompts ready, so you can create your custom evaluators, and then instead of so let's say you wrote a system and user prompt for a particular use case, and then you want to test it for different scenarios. So you don't have to keep on change the prompt, and then you don't have to try. You don't have to do that. So you can create evaluation sets, and then you can make the agent run for all that evaluation set, and then it will give the result. So next, so now so far, I think you're able to understand like what basically prompt engineering means. So now, what is it for AI agent specific prompt engineering? So until now we discussed general prompt engineering. So that now, what is it for AI agents? For AI agents, basically for AI agents, it is not directly single answer. It is a step by step procedure, right? So your AI agent should perform a complex task, a step-by-step complex task, and this will be goal-oriented, right? So crafting prompts specifically to perform complex and goal-oriented task is nothing but AI agent prompt engineering. So how is it different from traditional prompt engineering? For traditional, as I mentioned, you'll use single and standalone tasks. Let's say you give a huge text and then you just tell that to summarize the text, but you don't mention like how your output needs to look like. So you cannot mention like that. So you directly give the text and then you ask it to summarize. Next example can be you ask compose an email, and these will be like one response and then per prompt. Like you give this, you ask LLM to summarize the text, and then it'll give you the response. And that's it. And that will be end of one flow. And then in the next flow, you need to again start. So that's traditional prompt engineering. But in AI agent prompt engineering, these are designed for autonomous and multi-step workflows, right? So you have to plan, you have to basically split that prompt into multiple subsections, like the planning stage, and then the decision making stage, and then the adaptability stage. And then you have to clearly mention step by step. For example, you can the single prompt one. So the traditional prompt approach, you can think it of like asking a single question, and the AI agent prompt engineering, you can think it of like a guiding an uh, guiding an intelligent assistant through an entire project. So that's the difference. So the traditional prompt engineering will be asking a single question, and then the AI project prompt engineering will be you guiding an intelligent assistant through an entire project. So that's how you differ. I mean, that's what the difference between the traditional and AI agent prompt engineering. So next, types of prompts that we have in AI agents. So basically here for age, specifically for UiPath Agent Builder, we have two types of prompts, system prompt and user prompt. For system prompt, you have to firstly mention the foundational instructions, nothing but you have to define a role, an objective, rules and constraints. So you, for example, you write a role like you are a document summarizer agent. And for objectives, you mention like you keep a placeholder at the rate of objectives and at the rate of, and under that you just write a set of objectives that the agent should carry out. And then at the end you write the rules and constraints, like do not assume by yourself, or uh, please keep the summarize paragraph in just maybe 500 characters, like that. So you mention that rules and constraints at the end. Also, you need to guide on tool usage and escalation. So we have, if you joined the last session, I think we had a discussion of how the agent builder looks like, right? So quickly open it. So this is how the agent builder looks like. So here you basically write a system and user prompt, right? So you mention like this is your role. So you are a document summarization expert, and then your task. This is um, the objectives of the agent, and then you mention the clear rules. So the structure should be it should start with document title, overall summary, something like that. And that's about system prompts and user prompt. So this is for this prompt, for user prompt, you give the user prompt like how the is going to ask or interpret with the agent. So let's say uh, for this same summarizing agent, so I'll give the input to agent that summarize this report in 5 bullet points. So this will be my input. So you have to configure how the input will be given to agents. So that's nothing but user prompt. So for example, so in my case, in document summarize case, I mentioned that whatever the input text is given, for that you need to summarize the following document text using format defined in context, and output only in the final structure summary. So which is nothing but this one. I want the summary to be this. So this prompt will stay as it is. So I don't, every time user needs need not need to give this prompt again and again. So all he needs to do is the input text. That's it. So this pre-instruction is nothing. user prompt. That's about user prompt. And at the end, arguments. So, so in my case, I showed you, right? So input context is my argument, the agent. And then you can also give prompts in arguments. Let's say you don't have an argument. For that argument also, you can mention like, input argument will be text from particular PDF document or something. So something like that. You can give prompts in arguments also. So in simple words, a system prompt is nothing but set of rules of what agent needs to carry out. And user prompt is nothing but drive instructions, like how the input will be given to agent and then what it needs to carry out. And then arguments is to have to add the adaptability because input will not be same all the time, right? So these for multiple to run the agent for different inputs, we use arguments. So that's nothing but adding the adaptability. That's nothing but the prompts that we have in agents. Next, prompt health score. So in UiPath Agent Builder, we have something called prompt health score. And this is a metric which is used to evaluate the effectiveness of your prompt. And these evaluation will be dependent on the best practices of AI and prompt engineering, which we discussed before. So how will it? So once you write the prompt, you can ask autopilot also. I think I showed you yesterday. I mean before the previous session. So you can directly give text in autopilot, and then you can ask system and user prompt for that. And then if you click on accept suggestions, it will directly write here. And for that, you can see the health score. So let's say I've written this prompt, right? So if I click on score, I get the health score. So here you'll also see the recommendations. For example, for prompt, it says clarity is excellent, complete is excellent. Well, this is good, but demos, so there are no examples, right? So demo is poor. So now I can also, if I need to improve my score more, so it's better to have more than 80%, I would say. So it's to improve the score, all you need to do is you need to follow the suggestions. So if I give few examples here, like how the input looks like and then how the output needs to be, then my score will get improved. It will get improved. That's for prompt. And for tools, these are my recommendations. It says I'm good. And for input schema, it is 100%. And for evolutions, it says 52% because I don't have enough evolution sets. I just have one. So here, evolution set is nothing but as I mentioned before. So it's a test set. So basically, for UiPath, if you see for RPA, we have a test manager, right? So you have different uh, test sets, and then you will run your processor on that test sets to make sure it will not fail in production. So similarly, to test in agent, you have evaluation sets. You give you create different evaluation sets with input and output, and then once you have, if you modified something in agent, you just run the agent upon this evaluation set. Okay, that's about prompt health score. Then I would hand over to Harika.
Yeah. Okay, let me quickly share my screen.
Before that, going to the next step, we have two questions. So, one question, first question is, does the output argument of an agent always text? What if you're expecting an agent to get the details in a data table format?
We can format actually. We can ask agent to give in JSON format or data table format. So we can ask, we can set. But for now, multimedia is not supported. You cannot expect to create an image or video from an UiPath agent.
Hope it has answered your query, Shiraz.
And second
Uh,
question, can you?
yes, lovely. But one question. So if I go to the output argument, whenever
Mhm.
I create, I see the only option as text only, right? So are you expecting me to get in a JSON format and deserialize it later?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yep. And is the agent text only text values? Yes. For now, multimedia is, as I mentioned, it's not supported for the agent builder. So what you can do as a walk or a different workaround. So let's say you have a text file or something, you can decode, you can encode that text file into text, and then you can pass, and then later you can decode. That's the only option for now. But officially it will only take text values. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let me just take you guys through the demo. Okay, so till now we have seen how we can actually prompt, what are the various types of prompts and everything. So now let's go ahead and see how we can implement this. I can also see a question in the chat. Somebody asked about the sample files. So after the demo is done, we will share all the sample files to you. So you can use that along with the prompt. So you can actually build the agent by yourself. So yeah. So as a part of the demo, we are going to see document summarizer. So this is a small agent where we will be using the tools. So as Krishna mentioned, so for the agent, we will be providing the tools. In this case, the tool is our RPA workflow. So on a high level, on to explain this use case. So what this particular use case does is, so the RPA workflow will be something which will be executed before the agent itself. So every time whenever there is a file, so we are going to trigger this process manually. So there can be a lot of different types of triggers, but for this process we are doing it manually. So as soon as there's a file, the RPA bot we are going to trigger. So this this workflow is going to get the files and it's going to read that particular document. Okay. And after that, once it reads the document, the content will be given to the agent. So as the robot by itself will not have that intelligence or the capability to understand what's there in that document. So basically when I say document, let me just show you the reference of it. So this is a document that we are going to give. Okay, so similar to this, we can have like very big documents or like PDFs where the data can be so huge. As we all know that the robot will not be able to, it will be able to read, but however, it will not be able to understand the content inside it, right? So that's in where we use the agent over here, where it will try to understand what's there in that particular document. And we will be giving the prompt, the system prompt and also the user prompt. So with the system prompt, it will be able to make some, tweaks like how it has to look like. So here we are providing that it should align with the business style and what should be there as a part of the summary or the report that it is generating. So what all the things that it has to do and what all the things that it should avoid. So it should not hallucinate or it should not make up the information apart from what's provided in the document, and how it should actually match the context. We are also providing the context. So basically in this case, we are providing the context on how the document should look like. And I will show you the context file as well while we run through the demo. So it has to align with the context and it has to match with the context file when it comes to structuring. Okay, so agent consider all of these requests, all of these instructions basically, and it will provide a summary of the document, right? So in this case, we are providing that input from our drive. So let me just showcase you the flow here. So when we are actually developing the agent from Studio Web, so this is the place we can actually develop the agent. So once after we are on the Studio Web, we can create. So right now, as I'm going to start it with a workflow, I'm going to go with RPA workflow. But however, it actually builds it as a solution. So when I say solution, it actually, you can include everything within it. So if you see, you have the option to include apps within the solution. It will be part of your workflow as well. Like within the RPA, within the particular solution, you can have a workflow, you can have apps, you can have agent. So if I just add over here, you can have your agent, everything within it. So when you publish this, it will be published as a complete solution. So you don't have to integrate anything outside of it, but within the solution, you can actually make the integrations. Okay. So firstly, what we do over here is we first will build this particular flow, and then we will build the agent, and later we do the integration. Okay, so post that we will deploy this, and we will also try to run it from the studio. So in the studio we will call the agent and we will run it from there. Okay, so we will try to see everything in as a part of this particular demo. So firstly, as a part of RPA workflow, we are trying to get the file. So let me just show you how we can do that. So as I've mentioned, so we will be using the manual trigger. That means we have to run the automation in order to start the process. Okay, so now I'm going to get that particular file. So I have my file over here. So I've placed that particular file in my drive. Okay, so I'm going to get that particular file from here. So I'll be using this get file or folder list. So it will actually use this integration service in order to establish the connection to my Google Drive. So if at all you're landing here for the first time, if you have not established any connection, this will not come by default. You have to, there will be something like new connection. You have to click there and you have to make the connection. So it will ask you to continue with your account. You have to agree to all of that conditions. Then post that you'll be able to see this connection. Okay. And then I have to give the location from where I want to get this particular files. So this is the place where I have saved my file. So I'll use this particular location. So what it actually does is it will fetch all the files that I have placed. So every single time whenever there's a new file, I can just upload a new file and then can run this, which will give me the list of all the files and folders. So I'll be iterating it using for each. Okay. So in the for each, I'll be using this particular variable, which is files or folders. So it will be looping through each and every G Drive item in that particular folder. Okay, in that particular list. Okay, so and while I'm looping through, what I actually want is, if we go back to here, so we've got all the files and we need to read the document, right? So we have to extract the text from the PDF files. So let's just extract. So we have document understanding activity over here, which will help us to extract the PDF text. So choose this particular activity in order to perform this action. Okay, so now I have to pass this particular item, right? Because we are looping through each and every time. So I'll be using this variable current G Drive remote item. Okay. So after I execute this, the output will be taken into this particular variable. So let's just see what happens till this point. So I'll use a log message. And I'll be using this particular output variable. Okay, so now as per this flow, we have executed the RPA portion where we got the files, we read them, and we need to print the output over here. So let's just debug this. Okay, so similar to Studio, we have all these panels over here, like the property panel, and this is the output panel where we can see the files, the log of that, and we also have watch panel. So at any point of time, if you wanted to understand what the value each variable is holding, you can just check that over here. So yes, my execution is finished, and I can see this is the output it has provided me with. So we can see this is the document it has read and it has given me all the information, right? So nice. So now within the solution, we have to build our agent and we also have to give the prompt. Along with that, we have to build the context grounding as well, right? So let's just go to agent. So if you observe here, we have two things, agent and agentic process. You might have got a question, what is the difference between these two? So basically, when we talk about Mastro in our next session, you'll be able to get more clarity on agentic process. But on a high level, if I just have to explain you, so when we actually model the agent along with workflows and everything, so we will be using something called agentic process. Okay. So if I just select this is how it looks like. Let me just quickly show you. So it uses a BPMN model. Okay, so this is the place where we do the modeling, and we also run our instances of the agents. So that you will get more clarity when we go through the master session. So in this, we will be building the agent first. So we will just rename this as summarization agent. Okay. Fine. So now if you see here, we will be having all the things that we've seen in the theory, right? Like we have system prompt, user prompt, tools, context, and escalations. So we will be defining that over here now. So as a part of the system prompt, while Krishna was explaining, he told that when we are actually building a system prompt, there are certain things that we need to consider, especially the first one is role. Okay, so we have to let the robot know what it has to perform. What is the role of the agent, not robot, sorry, the agent. The agent needs to know what is the role of it, and we need to provide it with an objective, what it has to do, right? And then we have to provide the rules, constraints, and also what are the tools it has to use. So similar to that, we have created one prompt. Let me just give the prompt. Yeah. So this is the prompt that will help us to create everything. So we'll be providing this prompt file as well, so you can directly use it. And however, it's not difficult to create this. So when you can actually use ChatGPT also to create this prompt. So all you have to do is you have to provide, as mentioned, the role of it. So here for our agent, the role is document summarization expert, and we have provided the clear objective. Okay, so what it has to perform. Your task is to read a long form text, that means which is provided by our robot, and produce a complete structured summary that helps user quickly understand the key information, right? So that means we are telling what is only essential should be part of the summary. So we are also telling what should not be done. Do not describe your process, confirm, just output the summary directly in a structured below. So we are providing how the structure has to be, right? So here we are telling it should have title, summary, and what needs to be there in the title. So when you make your requirements, or when you tell the requirements concisely to the agent, it will just stick to that. But if you don't provide, if you just provide that, just give me the summary of it, it chooses its own style, right? So if you want the output in a certain way, you have to be clear about how it should look like. So these are the detailing that you have to provide. And we are also telling what should be eliminated. Skip sections like all of this. And we are also, see, basically when we are doing this, when the agent is providing any response, there are chances that it can hallucinate, right? So by giving all this information, by telling what to do and what not to do, so there can be the chances that we eliminate the agent to hallucinate. And also sometimes whenever the agent gives a response, it kind of gives a the preface of that particular explanation or the output. So in order to avoid that, you can use this. Okay, so do not preface it with explanations like this and all. And also, if you see anything apart from this that the agent is adding, you can just improvise your prompt, right? So by providing all that info. Now let's go to the user prompt. So this is my user prompt. So in the user prompt, I'm providing this. Summarize the following document text using the format defined in the context. So we have not yet provided the context, but it will understand where to take the context from. Okay. So once we add it, it will summarize the document text, where it is coming from, it is getting it from the robot. Okay, and output only finally structured summary. Okay, so now we have to provide this particular input. So this is an argument actually, so which we have to provide it in the data manager. So in the data manager we have input and outputs. So this is our input argument. So I'll be adding the property and we'll be using this particular argument. So I'll just edit and provide it. Right, so it will use this particular input argument and it uses the context as well as the system prompt in order to define or in order to provide the summary, and it will provide the finally structured summary. So this is what we are giving as a user prompt to the agent directly. And later comes the context. We told that it has to be stick to the context of it, right? So now in order to add the context, so first of all, let's try to understand what basically the context is. So as a part of this, I will be adding a document in my storage bucket. Okay. So this is my context. Okay, let me just show you how this looks like. Okay, so if you see here, we are telling the agent to stick to the context while it generates a summary, correct? So the context is something over here. So in this case, in this particular use case, we are giving this particular JSON as a reference so that whenever it creates a summary, it kind of refers to this. But your context can be of anything. So let's say, for example, what actually the context grounding mean is, so whenever we have this particular file that we are uploading in the storage bucket, right? So the agent will always refers to the context so that the output is not generic. It is specific to how you want it, sticks to the context. Okay, and also it can use as an input as well sometimes, right? So in this case, what happens behind the scene is I'm having this particular file in my storage bucket, right? So it whenever the agent want to refer to this particular context, it uses something called indexes. Okay, so we directly, the agent will not always go to this particular file. It won't scan this file all the time. Whenever we actually create an index, okay, so I will show you how to do all of this, but I will just first explain the concept to you so you'll be able to understand why we are doing so. Okay, so whenever we upload this particular file, the agent will not actually scan this every single time it uses this. Okay, instead it will just break the document into smaller chunks, like like paragraphs or the sentences, and it will create the index to that particular information. So because of this, whenever you ask any question, the agent will use that particular index instead of going through the whole file. So that's how the indexing will actually help. So because of this, it will be more speed. It will be very fast. Whenever you ask a question, it will give the response, but because it has the index already, it knows where to refer, right? And also it will be more accurate and it will be sticking to the context that we are providing. So now what we are doing is, so I have my summary.context over here, right? So I'll just, as I've already uploaded, I'll just do it for you guys so you can just understand how this works. Okay, so I'll be uploading this particular file into my storage bucket. Okay, so once after it's here, as my agent needs an index, yeah. So as my agent needs the index, I will be adding an index over here. I will just mention it as document summary agent index. Okay, and then it will ask for a source from where it can actually look up to. I will mention that it needs to go from check from the storage bucket and from the shared, because my storage bucket is in the shared, and this is my bucket name, agents bucket. Okay, and I can choose what file it should refer to, what is the file type it should refer to. For now I'll keep it all, and then I will create the indexing. So now here I have my index created. So now what I have to do, I'll be going back to my agent builder. I'll be adding the context. So here, as soon as you see the whatever is there in the shared folder, everything has come up over here. So I can choose what index should be added to my context, right? So I want this one, which is the latest one, which I just added. Okay, so that's how we can actually do the context grounding. So now we have developed the agent as well. So let's go back to our workflow. So we built the agent and we also created the context. So now let's just execute this part and see how the output looks like. But before to that, we need the input because we have not did the configuration between these two. The output of this will be gone as an input for this, right? So just for time being, whenever I'm executing, I will be providing the input for my agent. Okay, so let me just get the input from here. I'll use a part of information to provide as input. So let me debug this. So it asks whenever you try to debug, it asks for the input. So I provide this as input and you can see that it is running. The agent part is running and then let's see how it provides me the output. And it should if it has provided me the output in a right way, it should be using this particular context as well, and it should have all the information as mentioned over here. So yeah, meanwhile it runs, we'll just explore some other tabs of agent builder as well. So here we can see what is happening. So yeah, we can see how the execution trace is working. So here, this is the input that we have provided. Okay. And once the output is there, it's going to provide you over here like this. So let me just copy it because the view is not so great over here. And I'll showcase you over here. Yes. So here we have provided, this is the structure how we want it, right? So we also told don't give the preamble. That means it should not give anything like I will summarize or I have summarized, something like that, right? So we call that as preamble. So we are not giving anything as such. And it has directly given us the pointers and it has stick to the instructions that we have given. So we have given that it should have all these details, right? So document title, overall summary, and all of this, right? So this is how it has generated the output. So now as we have given the details directly into our input, but going forward, we don't want that. We have tested this and this separately, but now we are going to integrate both of them, okay? So how to do that is, so this is our solution, right? So now we are going to our RPA workflow. And from here, we know that till here we'll get the output. But however, this is the place where we want our agent to be picking the output from the RPA workflow and should run or execute the agent, correct? So now I'll be executing. We have something called run agent. Okay, so here I'll be providing the process name. So here I have my summarization agent and these are my previous agents, right? These are all available in my platform, whatever the things that are available in my platform. But in the defined resource, that means within this particular solution, I have this. So I'm going to use this particular agent, right? So once it's loaded, we can see over here. And what will be the input arguments for this? The output from the RPA workflow, right? So now I'm gonna use the output from here, right? And then save. That's it. So let's just, I'll keep a breakpoint here. And then before to that, I'll just log a message here. So I can show you once it's done. So I'll just add a breakpoint and then I'll debug on the cloud. Nice. So now we have integrated both our RPA workflow as well as our agent. So it will be executing now. So as we have integrated both of them, we no more see that execution tray over here because it's working as a solution. So we can see everything over here. And at any point of time, if you wanted to see what's the output of, so let's say, for example, I'll add a breakpoint here. I'll show you what's the output that's coming after the execution. So, okay, so we can see that it has started. So it's paused here. Let me go to next step. So as a part of output from here, we got the extracted text output, right? So the extracted text basically should have some value. So let me just show what value does it have. So in the runtime, if you wanted to see if what is the value that it is holding, you can observe over here, right? So it will be very much useful for troubleshooting, just like how we do it in our studio. Okay. And then I'll just click on continue. So now our agent has started running. So it's gonna take the output from here and it's gonna execute all the instructions and it will provide the output. So it's done. It is also successful. As I told you that the output from here will be passed to. Okay, so we have not provided something, but I'll show you the output from here. So these are the output arguments that we are getting from the agent. This is the output argument. So let me just show you output arguments. Output. Just try it.
Harika, one question. So I think we might need to define the output in the agent itself, right?
Sorry, we need to what?
I think we need to define the output in the agent, right? Because we have defined only the input in the agent.
No. It is by default, it will be coming as an output argument. So let me just show you in this over here in the log message itself. Because it's a default variable. See here, we can get it from here. So if you observe, these both are the output arguments from the agent, the job data as well as the output arguments. So from the output arguments, we wanted to get the content. So let me just take the content alone. So we can see how the summary is coming up over here. So let me just debug it again. So we can see this summary in the log message in the console. So meanwhile, Krishna, you can share the documents to everybody in the chat if it's possible, so they can also give it a try.
Sure.
So we'll be providing you all the inputs that you need, the document as well as the prompt, the JSON file. So just like how we have recreated now, you can try to build it from your side as well. So sometimes it takes a little longer. So, but once after it starts over here, it's gonna be a little quick. So till this part, does anybody have any questions of what we have seen so far?
Harika, one question. So right now for summarizing the details, you have used the agent, right? But for UiPath, we have Gen AI activities for summarizing the text. So for which use cases specifically we need to go for agent, and for which one we might need to go for Gen AI activities?
Okay, so basically for Gen AI also, you are doing the LLM call itself. But however, in summarization, if you go for Gen AI activities, I don't think you will be giving up this prompt and everything. It will not be able to provide the output as much as the agent is providing. Like if you see the output, show you. So this is the output, right? So there might be some limitations when it comes to GenAI activities with respect to output, how it is generating, right? So when it is, if you want to get a structured format, and if you also want a context, because here we've included the context as well. So in such cases, you can choose agent. But if it's just a summarization and if you don't want any context or anything to be involved, then you can go ahead this way. And not just that, we are also using escalations, and when it comes to agent, we have all these things clubbed together, right? We are having evaluations, which I will be showing you shortly. So all these things matters. But when it comes to GenAI activities, it's a normal workflow where we will be doing. But however, even in GenAI as well, we will still do the LLM calls.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah, so it has started execution and the agent has started running. Okay, so now this is the place where, see, this is how the output, this is the input. So this is the output that it has generated, right? So let me just copy this and put it in a separate notepad to showcase you how it looks like. Right, so this is the output that it has generated. This is from the console, so I'll just remove this. Okay. So it has provided as per the structure that I have needed, right? So now what else I do is, let me just let's just take this output from here, because we have something called evaluations. Okay, so I'll just go to evaluations as well. Let me. Okay, so now we have evaluator. So basically, whenever we give the input and when we ask the agent to get the output, so we can also use this particular the capability of the agent, where we can evaluate how the output, like how good the output is basically. So as you have seen in the prompting, we can see how good all of these are, right? So in this case, if it's calculating, I don't think there is any information regarding evaluations, because we have not created anything as such. So let's create something for evaluation sets as well, and then see how it gonna come. So I'm gonna first create an evaluation set. Okay, so I'm gonna provide the output that it has generated, which is the content. Okay, and then I'm also going to provide the input. So I'll take the input from, I can take it from here. What else I can also copy it from here. Okay. So for this input, this is the output, right? So let's just see how the evaluation. So I'm going to evaluate it. So it's going to take a little time, and then it will be providing me how good this particular output is. It will, the agent will be evaluating this based on the input, the system prompt and the user prompt, and it will also see the output, that the content that it has generated, and it will provide me with the evaluation score. Okay, let's go here. So if you see, it is 80%, 85% accurate. Okay, so this is how we can use the evaluation sets to just understand how good our output is when it is generated from the agent. So similar to that, we can generate multiple evaluation sets as well. But now we will be going ahead and seeing. So till now we have executed this part. But however, in cases if you want to run this particular agent from a studio, so let me just show you how you can do. But before to that, we will deploy this particular agent. Okay, so let me just click on publish. So I'll publish this agent. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . So as it has mentioned that it has started publishing, if there are any errors, it's going to tell me that certain errors it has encountered while deploying the agent. If there are no errors, it's going to mention that it is successful. So see here, the deployment failed because of the validation error. So first, let's see what are those validation errors. Okay, so now here it says an index with the same name already exists. So let's just see the index. Okay, let me just okay, it's here. So it says the index already exists. So I'm going to use the existing index. It's something like whenever we merge the code, there will be conflicts, right? So we will resolve it before we deploy. So it's something similar to that. So and then we'll validate it to see if there are further more errors to this. So there are 0. So we are good to deploy now. So let's click on deploy. Okay. Right. So now we have our deployment is successful. When we deploy this, it's going to come up something like this over here. So we can see that our agent, which is our, sorry, I have not renamed it. So I have provided as solution 6. I should have renamed. So this is our our solution. Okay. So it has come up as our solution, complete solution. And then we have our sorry, this is my agent, and then we have our workflow. Okay, so this is how it will be deploying. So we can just see it over here as well, right? So it will be coming something like this, and let me show you the documentation. Okay, so this is how it will be coming. This is the one that we have deployed. So now we will be running a workflow from our studio as well by using this particular agents. Okay, so let me just show you how you can actually use this. So on a high level, just to showcase you, this is the previous run which I have done. So when I ran this, it has executed and it has provided me this particular summary. Okay, so let me show you how we can do that. I'll create a new sequence, or else I'll try to showcase from here. Actually, whenever I'm doing this directly from the PDF, I was facing some issue because it is taking the file with the complete length, but actually it has a restriction because this run agent is a preview activity. Okay, so because of the preview activity, it has some limitations at the moment. It cannot process any of the file or the text, any of the file or the document which has the text more than 5,000 characters. Okay, so at the moment this is a limitation. So once they fix this, they will be sending this for the public preview. But however, at the moment we have this limitation for this activity in the studio. So that's why what I've done is I have taken that complete text from my document, and let me just show you how I've integrated this. Okay, so there is one more thing that you need to consider is you have to run this as a persistent activity. So let me show you. So first of all, I am just taking it from here, my document summarization agent. Okay, this is my solution, and inside this solution I have my summarization agent. Okay, I'm taking this, and it needs an input argument. So if you see, it has processed and it provided me the input argument, which is the text that I'm using here, right? Because of the limitation that I've just mentioned you. And so once after I provide this particular text, it's going to run the agent with the text, and it is providing me the content. And also if you see, the content is by default here, the output from here. So this is not something we are going to create. We'll just utilize that particular argument. So yeah, and one more thing that you need to consider is whenever you are running this particular automation, just ensure that you make this supports persistence as yes. Okay, let me just execute this and show you. Okay, so as I told you, this is a long running process and a persistence activity. So it will be suspended. This will happen only when you're running it in attended mode. When you deploy it, so it will be automatically picked up after the agent has run. So for now, I will just resume this. So if you see, the output has been generated and this is the output that it has provided me. So for the time being, with the limitation, we have to bear with the limitation of 5,000 characters that it is having. So that's why I've put the value like this over here. So yeah. So maybe after they make the improvements, they will provide the better version of this particular activity. So on a high level, going back, we've covered the agent builder. We've built one agent, which is a basic one just to keep it simple. But however, if you understood the concept, you'll be able to replicate it with the complex ones as well. So as a part of that, we have used RPA workflow over here. You can even use it anywhere, like in between as well. When your agent is running, and if you wanted to run a workflow after the agent as well, from the output that is generated by the agent, you can even do that. Because of the solution that we have over here, we can include both our agents and the solutions and anything that you want over here easily. Okay, so this is a small basic use case to give more clarity to everybody, whoever have basic knowledge or advanced knowledge as well. So yeah, I hope we covered all the points that we wanted to cover for today. Krishna, do you have anything more to address?
No, I think we covered all. So if you have any questions, you can ping in the chat or you can ask.
Yeah, so there are no open questions, but if there are any, feel free to unmute yourself or you can post your queries in the chat. So today was all about building your first agent, and I really appreciate Harika and Madhu Krishna. You all nailed it. And but team, and I would say that this is just a warm up. The real magic begins when you start connecting and orchestrating the multiple agents together. And that's why our next session is also extra special, where we talk about master agentic orchestration with UiPath Maestro. You will find the PPT in the same page, the event page where you have RSVP'd. And Madhu Krishna has already shared the files, the supporting files that will help you kickstart with your agent, the first agent.
Yeah, you can use all the files that were provided. So you can also start developing from your side at any point of time if you have any questions. Krishna has actually created a YouTube series as well in his channel. So you can refer to that, or you can connect with us also on LinkedIn if you got stuck anywhere, if you need any support.
So if you have enjoyed today, I am sure that you're going to love what's coming next. We will dive into how to manage the scale and orchestrate agents like Pro, all hands on with the community driven. So don't miss the next session. Bring your questions, bring your ideas, and let's keep growing the UiPath community together. We'll wait for 2 minutes for if there's any questions. I've already shared the link of all the supporting linked community speakers members in the chat, along with the event page for the next session, which is Master Agentic Orchestration. So feel free to RSVP if you haven't done it. And I've also shared the last previous session event page as well, where you can go through and refer the recording and the PPT as well. Both have been uploaded in the event page. And after this session, I will post the recording as well along with the PPT. We can't access files. So are you not able to download the files?
No issues. It's just a text file. I can directly give that text here in the chat. So it's summary.json.
Yeah, so text has been shared. You can copy it and paste it in the note and save it as a summary context.json.
So Krishna and Harika, one last question, Shahaz here.
Yeah, sure.
So, Harika, in the example which you have given, you have actually integrated RPA with the agent, right? But we do have option of adding RPA as a tool for agent also, right? So maybe in the
Yes,
next session, if you could just give us an example, like if you want to use RPA as a tool for the same use case, how we will do it, it will be helpful.
sure. Sure, Sharaz. Yeah, we'll try to address that.
Great. Then I think we can wrap up for today. Thank you all for joining. See you in the next session. And yeah, thanks, Siraj, for the feedback. We will incorporate in our next session.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.